Hey, it's Mike. Have you ever wondered how some people just seem to have this magnetic presence that draws others in effortlessly? What if I told you that there are specific psychological tricks that can make anyone instantly attracted to you? Whether it's in dating, friendships, or even in professional settings, mastering these techniques can make you unforgettable. But here's the thing. Most people have no idea they're doing it wrong. Stick around, because I'm about to reveal the secrets that can completely change how people perceive you. Let's start with one of the most underrated yet powerful psychological tricks, the power of eye contact. It sounds simple, right? But here's the twist. It's not just about looking at someone, it's about how you look at them. Maintaining steady eye contact signals confidence and interest, but there's a subtle art to it. You don't want to come off as intimidating or creepy. The trick is to use what psychologists call the triangle technique. Here's how it works. Imagine a triangle connecting the person's two eyes and their mouth. Gently shift your gaze between these 3 points every few seconds. This creates a natural and engaging rhythm that makes the other person feel comfortable, yet undeniably drawn to you. But why does this work? You see, our brains are wired to interpret eye contact as a sign of attention and connection. When you master the triangle technique, you're subtly telling the other person that you're genuinely interested without overwhelming them. Plus, people are naturally attracted to those who seem confident and engaged. Eye contact alone can elevate your presence in any social interaction. Now let me hit you with another powerful trick, the principle of mirroring. Have you ever noticed how people who get along well often mimic each other's movements, speech patterns, or even posture? This isn't a coincidence, it's a subconscious signal of rapport. By subtly mirroring the other person's body language, you're telling their subconscious mind, we're on the same wavelength. Here's how you do it. If they lean in slightly, you lean in just a bit. If they cross their legs, you do the same after a moment. The key here is subtlety. You don't want to be too obvious, or it can backfire. When done right, mirroring builds an unspoken connection that makes the other person feel more at ease around you. It's like speaking the same language without saying a word. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what about conversations? How do I make people feel an instant connection when we're just talking? That's where the next trick comes in. The power of active listening. Most people listen to respond, not to understand. But if you flip that around and genuinely listen to what someone is saying, you immediately set yourself apart. Here's the kicker. You don't just listen, you validate. When someone shares something, even if it's small, acknowledge it with a phrase like, "That's really interesting. Tell me more about that." Or, "I never thought of it that way." You're not just showing that you're listening, you're showing that you value their perspective. This simple shift can make people feel valued and important, which is incredibly attractive. But we're not stopping there. Let me introduce you to the concept of vulnerability. It might sound counterintuitive, but sharing a small, personal detail about yourself can make people feel a deeper connection with you. Think about it. When someone opens up to you, it naturally makes you feel closer to them, right? It works both ways. You don't have to spill your deepest secrets, just something light that reveals a bit of your personality. For example, if you're talking about hobbies, casually mention a challenge you faced while learning something new. It humanizes you and makes you relatable. Just make sure it's authentic. People can sense when you're being real versus when you're just trying to impress. Vulnerability shows confidence in your own imperfections, and that's magnetic. Now here's a twist you probably didn't see coming. Using silence strategically. Most people are uncomfortable with silence and rush to fill it. But confident people know how to use it to their advantage. After saying something meaningful, pause for a second or two. This allows your words to sink in, and it shows that you're comfortable enough to hold space in a conversation. The magic of silence lies in its power to create anticipation. It makes people lean in, both physically and mentally, to hear what you're going to say next. It's like creating a small mystery in the flow of the conversation. And let me tell you, mystery is a key ingredient of attraction. But wait, there's more. You ever notice how some people just light up a room without saying a word? That's because they know how to use their energy intentionally. It's not about being the loudest or most animated person in the room. It's about being present, grounded, and genuinely invested in the interaction. One way to channel this energy is through purposeful pauses and a relaxed posture. It shows that you're comfortable in your own skin. When you carry yourself like someone who doesn't need to prove anything, it naturally draws people to you. So, what's the common thread here? It's all about making others feel valued, heard, and comfortable while maintaining a sense of intrigue. People are drawn to those who make them feel good about themselves. And when you combine that with a hint of mystery, you become genuinely magnetic. But remember, we're just getting started. There are even more psychological tricks that can take your charisma to the next level. You're about to discover techniques that go beyond what most people even think about when it comes to attraction. You don't want to miss this next part because it's going to change the way you interact with people. So stick around because what's coming up next will blow your mind. Now let's dive into one of the most powerful psychological tricks that most people completely overlook: the art of storytelling. You see, storytelling isn't just for books or movies. It's a fundamental human connection tool. When you share a story, especially one that's relatable or emotionally charged, people can't help but become invested. It's as if their brain temporarily steps into your shoes, feeling what you feel and seeing what you see. So, how do you use this to your advantage in real-life interactions? Simple. Weave a brief, personal story into your conversations. For example, instead of just saying you love traveling, share a quick story about an unexpected adventure you had. Or, if you're talking about learning something new, mention that hilarious moment when things didn't quite go as planned. Stories make your words memorable and paint you as someone worth listening to. But here's a surprising twist. Not all stories are created equal. To make them truly captivating, focus on sensory details. Describe how something felt, looked, or even smelled. Engage the senses, and your story becomes vivid and tangible. That's the secret to making it stick in people's minds. Now let's address a mistake that most people make without even realizing it: the tendency to dominate conversations. You know that person who constantly talks about themselves without ever asking questions? Yeah, don't be that person. Instead, use the concept of conversational balance. Aim to give as much as you take. If you've been talking for a while, make it a point to ask a thoughtful question. But here's the trick. Don't just ask generic questions like, "How was your day?" Go deeper. Try something like, "What's something that made you smile today?" Or, "What's the most interesting thing you've learned recently?" This technique not only keeps the conversation flowing, but also makes people feel seen and appreciated. Next up is something that's often overlooked, but incredibly powerful: the impact of light physical touch. Before you panic, let me clarify. I'm talking about respectful, appropriate touch that aligns with social norms. A brief touch on the shoulder when making a point or a light handshake can significantly boost the sense of connection. Studies have shown that touch releases oxytocin, which is known as the bonding hormone. It builds trust and makes interactions feel warmer and more genuine. But here's the catch. Timing and context are crucial. You don't want to overdo it or make anyone uncomfortable. Pay attention to social cues and only use touch when it feels natural and welcome. When done right, it leaves a lasting impression of warmth and confidence. Now let's talk about something that's often misunderstood: humor. People are naturally drawn to those who can make them laugh. But it's not just about telling jokes. It's about being lighthearted and not taking yourself too seriously. The best kind of humor is the kind that makes others feel included rather than targeted. One great technique is self-deprecating humor, but only in small doses. Lightly poking fun at yourself shows that you're comfortable and confident, as long as it doesn't come across as putting yourself down. For example, if you spill your coffee during a meeting, laugh it off with a quick, "Guess I wasn't meant to be a barista." It humanizes you and makes you relatable. But here's a key point. Balance is essential. You don't want to come across as a clown or make it seem like you don't take anything seriously. Mix humor with genuine moments of insight or reflection. This duality makes you dynamic and unpredictable, which is inherently attractive. Speaking of unpredictability, let me introduce you to a psychological principle known as variable reward. This concept is often used in marketing and gaming to keep people hooked, but it also works in social dynamics. Instead of being consistently predictable, add a hint of surprise to your interactions. For example, if you usually text someone every morning, skip a day occasionally. Or if you're typically very composed, share an unexpectedly passionate opinion. These little twists keep people intrigued and guessing, which makes them invest more attention in you. Now let's circle back to something fundamental: your tone of voice. People often underestimate how much tone influences perception. A calm, confident voice conveys stability and assurance, while a rushed or anxious tone can make you seem insecure. Practice speaking a bit slower than usual and add intentional pauses. This not only makes your words more impactful, but also shows that you're in control of the conversation. If you really want to enhance your presence, use downward inflection at the end of your sentences. This subtle technique makes statements sound more authoritative and less questioning. It's a small tweak, but it can drastically change how your words are received. Here's a surprising insight. People are more attracted to those who make them feel good about themselves. It's not just about impressing them, it's about making them feel impressive. One way to do this is by giving genuine compliments, but take it one step further. Compliment something unexpected, like their ability to make others feel comfortable or how they always notice the little details. Specific compliments show that you're genuinely observant and appreciative. Plus, when you acknowledge qualities that others might overlook, it feels more personal and meaningful. Before we wrap up, here's one final game-changing trick. Practice being comfortable with silence. Most people rush to fill gaps in conversation because they fear awkwardness. But when you allow a brief pause, it shows confidence. The other person will naturally feel compelled to speak, and it often leads to deeper, more meaningful exchanges. So, to sum it up, mastering attraction isn't about being flashy or overly dominant. It's about subtle cues, confident presence, and making others feel valued. When you combine these psychological tricks, you'll notice that people are naturally drawn to you without even knowing why. And guess what? There's so much more to uncover. Stay tuned for even more insights into the fascinating world of attraction psychology. You won't want to miss what's coming next.